were a bit raunchy and raucous.
We kept you on a really short leash.
Nice to be on someone's leash sometimes.
I was going to say, with that hair, you better play an instrument. It is so rock and roll. I love it.
I think she's a they. That didn't come out right. Can you do this for, a donut?
People would do anything for a t-shirt.
That's like genius.
Hey everyone, welcome to the second Rainbow Remix Rewind for 2025. And today we're bringing you two very brave women who left comfortable long relationships in pursuit of a passionate, authentic life.
Boom! Yes!
Heart down, got it.
All right. So we've got Lisa Kirkman, and she is a new podcaster who's just started a show called Big Gay Overalls.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to listen because we booked so quick.
I know.
Yeah, we booked so quick, so we're going to ask her all about it. And she's beaming in from Australia.
Beaming in. She's the first one on our wall since
in a
we
long
took
time.
Since we took the break.
Let's go. Oh,
hey, welcome.
Guys.
Oh, hi there.
Good morning. It's morning over there, right?
It is. It's 20 past 8 in the morning here.
That's fantastic.
So, yeah.
So I was just telling JD, I haven't even had a chance to listen because we booked you so quick. I think JD and I, when we initially started this podcast, it was because we felt that we wanted to connect not only with our community, but the older portion of our community. And I'm getting that vibe from some of the things that I've read, about your episodes. So is that what prompted you to do this?
Yeah, essentially, coming out later in life has its own particular challenges to, particularly like for the I don't know what they're calling the current generation of people, but that can come, basically hit, primary school and decide what they want to be, who they want to be, who they want to be with. So coming out later has its own thing, and it can be very isolating. Through talking with my business coaches, because they're the first people I actually came out to, and they're like, yeah, well, when I said to them one day, like, well, I think I'm gay, and they're like, well, welcome, thanks for getting here because we've been waiting for you, because they could see it like a mile away.
It's so anticlimactic, isn't it?
Yeah, it was like, and
up for this big speech, and they're like,
well, duh, and but they kept saying to me that my story was my superpower, and my mess is my message, and they'd encouraged me at one point to start writing my life story. And they were like, there is someone who is going to read your journey and it's going to save them, or they're going to get something out of it, or they're going to see some hope. The point of it, I guess, was if someone, because I know how isolating it can be, that if someone else goes, and that's what's blown me away when I get different comments or people have commented in, because you can't really promote a podcast in a Facebook group because the people who own the group are protective, but where I have shared it selectively, like people are like, oh, I wish I had this 6 years ago, or I wish I had this. And my business coach, who I told him about this, he goes, yeah, I hate it when I'm right. And I'm like, go away. But it's still, the sole purpose is still for me to navigate like the stuff I'm still working through. So I officially came out in 2021, late 2020 through. The 1st of June 2021 was when I told my husband I was gay. And we'd been married 17 years. And I'd moved out for 6 months prior to that because I was like, I need to work through some things and think through some things. So 1st of June is kind of like, well, that's official, because then I could tell other people. I'd sort of told some people, I thought, well, there's a few people know now. I don't want him to find out,
through someone else. Right.
Yeah. Because that's not awkward at all. And so I'm still navigating, one thing I've learned, it feels like that you've got to come out in some way every day to some other person.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how or why. Like someone, like I feel like you've always got to be going, oh yeah, this is my wife. Yes, I'm married. It's to a woman or some other aspect. But I feel like over the 3 years, like the whole journey continues to change and evolve. So I did an episode about 2 weeks ago now about labels, 2 or 3 weeks ago, about all the like, you know, when you're a straight woman married, you're a wife and you're a straight female. That's essentially what defines you, apart from being a mother or what. But essentially,
Right.
it's like, okay, well, I'm gay. Well, what sort of gay are you? Are you, you know, there's a laundry list of options that you can pick. And if you are this on the laundry list, then you shouldn't be attracted to this on the laundry list, and they won't be attracted back. And I was like, this. So it was just confusing to me, and so I'm
Really
still navigating.
overwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, and
You know, it
and
used
trying to
be like LGBT, you know.
yeah.
Now we've
Right.
got the Q and the I and the A, and we've got the
It's
intersex and non-binary.
Well, I'm glad we got in at the first letter, because we can't be mucked around with. We can't get pushed further down the alphabet. We're the lead off.
Are you finding that you're connecting with people who have similar experiences from you that are like so happy that you're there and sharing the fact that I can relate to what you said about I didn't grow up in a small town, but the word lesbian had a lot of negative connotation to it growing up. Not in my family, but just in general in the world at that time, in the 70s, you know,
Yeah.
and what's interesting is the young people now don't even know what that feels like because it's so different and you know and accepted more or less now. I mean, depending on where you live, obviously, but across the board, so much more accepted, but yet in mainstream, but yet for people in our generation, like it's still different for us. It was still probably hard for you to tell people that you knew for your whole life who you are.
And it is like so in the small town I grew up in, because my wife is keen to go back there, and you know, we'll go and check on my grandparents' graves, and she wants to see where I grew up, and I'm like, ugh. So some people out there, because I know out there throughout my entire like teenagers, early 20s, I was always accused of, you know, you're a dyke, you're butch, you're gay, whatever, you know.
Oh, we're taking those words back though now, right?
Yeah. But they were, you know, I didn't run around with every, you know, man in town. I wasn't, you know, and so then if you were friends with another female, then that's what it was in the town. And I was starting to get hung up as going, oh, you know, those people are going to say things. And I thought, then I started thinking about it going, why do I even care about people who I have had no contact with in 30 years?
Right.
What they care about.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting way that you still, when you go back into that old environment, you flip back to some of that past, you know, it's trauma, I guess. And it's because some of that stuff, I worked so hard to be not what they said I was. So
Right.
And then you go, well, now I've turned out what you said I was. 99% of the people that I chose to keep in that inner circle were great. They're like, well, they were either like, well, duh, or, well, wow, that's so awesome for you.
Yeah.
If I had someone who was like, oh, really? I was like, okay, you're out into the next circle, and then the next circle, and the next circle.
Yeah.
I know where now to fit you in the hierarchy.
Exactly.
And because I'd rather surround myself with, you know, good humans and like-minded individuals. And just on 12 months ago, we moved to this small rural town, and straight away I was like, well, how's this going to go over in a little, you know, country town? Queensland, it has, like, I volunteered some time with the local show society, which is like your state fair, the organisers for that.
Yep.
All, you know, much older people, you know, lived out here all their lives. And I went, well, how's this going to go when we rock up to a meeting? No, mister, you know, oh, what are you girls up to? And, you know, we actually went to a race day on Sunday, and one of the ladies who is always there taking the horse races, who takes some money at the thing, I got to know her through, you know, doing the show stuff. And we walked in and just talking about my photography, and she said to my wife, well, you're taking some lovely photos as well. And I said, well, she's got a good teacher. And this lady, who would be, I'm going to say possibly 70s, turned around and fired back, well, it helps when you're sleeping with the teacher, doesn't it?
Oh.
lost our shit because it was not what we expected her to fire back with at all. So
Right.
we've had like this level of humor and acceptance in this community where nobody thinks twice, versus if I go back to where I grew up, I have that. And even she's talking about this, my wife talking about the small town where she grew up, she's like, it's still very homophobic there. It's still would not be easy for somebody who's 15, 16, 17 to come out there and be open. And you know, to get back to your question you asked me, through the podcast, I've had so many people reach out going, you know, me too, and stuff that I read in you know, like I'm in a few Facebook groups, and that prompted my episode I did this week on the process I went through to separate and divorce and have those conversations with my, you know, now ex-husband.
Yeah.
And, you know, so many people are either at the point of getting ready to have that conversation, or they've had it and they're still trying to navigate it, whether they've still got to cohabitate because of financial reasons, or like we never had any kids. It's just a dog we've got to co-parent. But that all still comes with its own challenges and ways to navigate it. I thought, well, no one's talking about how they went about it. So I thought, I'm just going to put mine out there and say, you know, here's how I approached, here's what I was afraid of. And here's, you know, I was terrified that the whole world was going to blow up and everyone was going to hate me and I'm disrupting everybody's lives. And, you know, I talked about how I'd had so many conversations with my therapist about like, what's going to happen, like every call I felt like we'd just talk about the same stuff because I still hadn't done it. Still, we're going to do it this week. No. But then in sharing that, like hopefully someone else who happens across it will go, oh, it can be, it doesn't have to be, like we're still very close friends and we still talk constantly. It doesn't have to be acrimonious and it doesn't have to be World War III. Like people's feelings are going to be hurt, but, you know, just try to approach it as being a good human, then you don't have to automatically assume that the world's going to end.
Yeah.
Now, everybody's situation's different, and I'm, you know, and I get that, but when all you're seeing in the Facebook groups is like, this is horrible, this is, you know, oh, you know, I separated 6 years ago, now he's got a new partner and I feel devastated about it. It's like, well, hang on a minute. Like, it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
If you're good with you and you do you, as we said, then you can both navigate it. Like, I'm sure it's been tricky for him and at times uncomfortable, but we've just navigated through in a way that works for everybody and everyone can kind of, you know, be a good human. He was at the race day we were at on Sunday with his photography club, and he sent me a message Saturday night going, so it's not awkward on Saturday, how do you want to be introduced? And if people come up and we're talking, and I went, well, firstly, we're friends, so I thought this is my friend would be appropriate. But hey, if you want to say I'm the bitch ex-wife lesbian, cool, like you do you. And he goes, guess well, friends is good then. I said, don't overthink it.
You want any more pressure than friends.
It's the thing though, like right there, what you said, don't overthink it. You know, like sometimes I think, you know, we put so much on ourselves because, you know, our situations, I think I can speak for all of are all very similar. You know, I was, you know, married too and had to come out to my husband first, you know, and I went to therapy before I did it. And then I dragged him into therapy so I could tell him with the therapist, because fortunately for me, my therapist worked in a plaza where my mother's restaurant was. So I would see her every day, morning coffee, you know, afternoon lunch, you know, whatever. And she was familiar with my mom and she, you know, knew Chuck, my husband at the time. So it was so comfortable and easy, you know, to talk to her and not have to say, you know, I could just, you know, say the name and she knew who I'm talking about. You know, it was all very familiar. And we, you know, after I told him, we kept it to ourselves for like a year before telling our parents, you know, and first it was mine and he came with me to every single person, you know, that I wanted to tell. He would come and say, look at me, I'm fine. You know, we've been dealing
Yeah.
with this for a year. I know you're just having to, you know, absorb this and process it right now, but we wanted to make sure that we were both cool with it before we told anybody else. And I think, you know, that was a really good way to handle it, because from that point on, when I finally did move out, he already was in a relationship with someone that was moving in. So him and his partner, and, you know, me being on my own, like family Christmases, Christmas Eves, you know, every holiday, birthday, everything all together, both families, no
Yeah.
issues. You know what I mean? Like we
Mm.
just lucked out like so much. JD still works with her ex-husband.
Yeah,
So
every day. And what's funny is I'm a musician and I play shows locally, and he comes with his now wife to see my shows, and we're kind of buddies, you know, his wife and I. Just started. I think she didn't know how to take me at first because they're kind of new, like in the last say 5 years. Um, but see, you guys had almost the same experiences where you were brave enough to go to a therapist, you know, talk it through and then tell your ex-husband. I, on the other hand, just kept it all in. It came out through my music, and I was playing in the gay bars. You know, that was my escape to do that. And I just ran to the music, which made me a terrible wife, which I now am starting to think about, you know, like, and it ended up we were always, because we grew up together, we were together, we knew each other since we were 16. We were married for 25 years, so we were still like friends, but there was absolutely no passion or anything in the marriage. So here I am running to do my music, touring a bit back then, and he ends up cheating on me. So our marriage fell apart from the cheating and not from me being brave enough. I wished I did what you guys did. I really wish I had the courage to do what you guys did. I didn't. I just like kind of like just kept it inside and just ran away from it. But then when I found out about the cheating, because the person he was cheating with revealed it to me, um, that was the reason the marriage ended. So it was like really wasn't all his fault, you know. I get that. I knew it the minute I saw that. She was kind enough to give me pictures of the two of them together, and when I
Very
saw,
kind.
I
she was
think I
kind
was
enough.
there. Was I there that night?
You might have been. It was she left them on the back of my truck when I was
At
loading to
Lesbians,
at
right?
Leslie's. Yeah, you were
I
there
was
that.
there.
And she left them in a folder that said pictures for JD, and I thought they were pictures of me, like somebody took a picture of me playing that night. And
Wow.
anyway, the first thing I said was, "This is my fault," when I looked at the pictures, because I knew I was running away from the marriage and I was not around a lot, you know. And my mom was always telling me, "You leave him alone too much. You know, you should really not go away that much." I think my family kind of saw all of this in me, but they just didn't, you know, put it all together.
And Jay, wasn't it like it wasn't immediate after that you came out? You still didn't,
Right. I wasn't
right?
I was still processing to not, I had to tell them about the marriage ending because we were together for so long and my dad wasn't well at the time and I didn't want to upset him. So I didn't say anything for 2 years, almost 3 years we lived together. We cohabitated, like you said, Lisa, financial reasons. And also we hid it from the family like you guys did, Denise, but for different reasons. I was just hiding the cheating and the fact that the marriage was over. But I kind of had a girlfriend pretty soon after. But what was interesting is when he found a girlfriend, it bothered me. Even though I didn't want him back, it still
Mm.
bothered me, you know, and that's when I couldn't live together anymore. I'm like, you know, I don't think we could do this, like, because he wasn't coming home then. So it was just, I was still coming home every night, you know, so I was different. But he knew I had somebody, and he knew it was a woman, but he didn't say
It's
anything.
it's tricky, isn't it? Like we hide so much of ourselves away to protect other people. Like
Yes.
I was trying to protect him because And so I have a very complex and difficult relationship with my mother. And like mum still lives with him because she was living in the house with us. And he has not, put her out or anything like that because she looks after the dog. I think it's mutually beneficial. But I was like, he's a good person. He doesn't deserve this.
Yeah.
And he didn't ask for this. And, he married me in good faith and, all the rest of it. But, similar to you, I guess, JD, we were like those flatmates for the best part of, the last 10 years of our marriage, because there was no intimacy. There was no, and I'd had I guess I've since learned it's a term, like I had my catalyst relationship in 2010, and I was like, that's when I was like, okay, this is who I think I am. But I did nothing with it for another 10 years until I met my now wife, and that's when I got to the point where I'm like, I could never see myself leaving that environment because it was safe. Like I knew where everything was, it's secure. Like I was like, he's going to kick me out in the street, kick my mother out, and I do not want to live with her again. That's not going to work. Like, how am I going to do this? But when I met the person, I was like compelled to then go, well, I either have to own this life or I'm not going to have this. And not having this was so not worth the loss. It was, I just felt like when she moved down to be closer to me, the original plan was, I'd just go and stay on weekends and we'd just, hang out. And then there was a little mini 3-day COVID lockdown. And then I went back home for a night and I was like, I don't belong here. I don't fit in this. And I was like, went back there the next day and I said, I can't go back there again. So I went back and said, that's when I said I need to move out. But I was like, I don't know how I'm going to make it happen. I don't know how I'm going to get through it, but I'm compelled that this is because I'd never been in a space since I was born where I felt okay to be me and accepted. And, I always felt like, particularly once my mother moved into the house, that and because I'd lived in New South Wales, so I'd lived about 10 hours drive away for 18 months in another city for work. And so by the time I got back, because mum had already moved in at that point because of issues with where she was living, but it was like I was a visitor in my own home because she'd be like, well, you need to fit in with us now. I'm like, well, hang on a minute.
Wow.
It's like, and she would shop and buy food for meals for them. Well, you don't eat what we eat. So figure it. And whereas when I, first moved in with Sharon, she'd like made sure that she waited and had dinner with me every night.
Yeah.
Because that was important. And I was like, I can't trade. And, the more times I've spent, particularly in the early days, going back to the house, I was like, how did I exist here for so many years? How did I exist? Like when you can turn around and look back, like, how did I live like this for that long?
Yeah.
And we have a really good relationship with him. Like we go over on Christmas Eve. Sharon comes with me. We have dinner there with him and mum, and we work out stuff around Easter and whatever. And like he'll have a good conversation with her and, just general stuff. Like they're not besties, but, it's not an issue where he's like, no, she can't come to the house or anything like that. Like we've done it in a way that, and then, it took us, I'd already proposed to Sharon. So I was like, oh, I better get divorced because I can't get remarried. Divorced. So that, I was doing things that was forcing my hand to move forward with life. Otherwise, I'd still be sitting here and probably still married and we wouldn't have got around to divorcing. And
but once you were experiencing it, didn't you feel like these are the natural next steps?
Yep.
Even though you were forcing yourself,
but every step along the way was trying to protect everybody else. And I was forcing myself to be uncomfortable and move forward, but I was still trying to go, well, how do I make this so it doesn't cause a confrontation, doesn't cause and all of the things that I was most worried about happening never happened really.
Right.
And, my mum's always going to be my mum. She's always going to, that's her jam. But generally with 90% of the people that like Sharon's family, I've never experienced such inclusion and love from a family as I have from her aunties and, you know, that sort of thing where they've just like embraced me 100%. They're like, well, we already love you because you love Sharon and she's really happy.
Right,
so
right.
that's all we want, like, you know. And so I think that, like, I've never experienced that. So I'm like, well, if I'd stayed where I was, look at all these things that I would have yet to experience, whereas before I was just existing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's only the luxury of hindsight that gets you to that point.
Right.
But I think for a lot of people that, because I was there, it's overwhelming, it's terrifying, it's like I can't see the other side of this storm. All I can see is 25-foot waves and you know, the drama, and here I am in my little rainbow dinghy just trying to figure out a way through it.
The
Once
rainbow.
you navigate, wearing my big gay overalls as my business coach. Because when we moved out to our rural area, he goes, oh, you in your gay farmer overalls? And then when I came to name the podcast, I was like, overalls are a good analogy because it's like you put on clothes to do work, and you've got to do work on you to accept you are. Like I still feel a lot of guilt for that 2010 relationship. I'm like, that's not one of my values, that I would have cheated or done things. But it's, you know, when we went through the process of telling family, so he's not very communicative, so I think he just sent his father a text Facebook message. So if you want me to talk to anyone, I will, so I can explain to them, no one did anything wrong here, it's just biology.
Oh, wow.
That's
shocked. That's interesting.
So we're in a group chat with his cousins who we were close to, so I just sent them a message, and he was in the chat, said, Sharon and I are all good, there's no whatever, we're amicable, it's just biology, and everyone made jokes and it was all good. And when he spoke to his father and his stepmother and his mother, was like, is that all good? And he goes, yep, no dramas. So it's cool. So we, you know, I said, but if anyone asks you something, or because I know some things have, some people who are aware then may have said something to someone who isn't aware through mutual friends.
Yeah.
I said, you know, if something comes up, then, you know, just let me know and I'll happily talk to somebody about it. Like, no big deal. Yeah. And even like the first year that I was out, and Sharon and I, we thought we were going to go to a Pride event because we thought we might like that. I said to him, I said, we're going to this Pride thing just in case I appear on the news and you have awkward questions from people like, why is Lisa at the Pride? I said, I'm not going to be leading the parade, but, you know, I might pop up somewhere on social media or something. And he's like, yep, radio. Like, and I've always tried to be super respectful of, you know, I set up a different Facebook, you know, that was private, and I have blocked him and all his friends, but we still have a Facebook where we're friends and interact with people and things, because I don't want to not be able to talk to people about my life and things, but I also don't want it shoved in front of his face. But I think that people who are coming out when they're 19, 20, 21, it's a very different experience to at our age when you're doing it. You've lived a life, and now you're like, oh, guess what? I'm going to start again.
You're like,
and we have all this
person. It's a playground. You know what I mean? All the younger kids are like, what's that old person?
And to be perfectly frank, at our age in life, we don't have time to bullshit and faff around. Like, we just need to get on with our life that we've just started. I don't have time to figure out
I don't need this kind
what
of
letter.
schooling. I barely made it through high school. You know, by the skin
what
of my
letter of the alphabet am I going to be? I just need to get on with my life and be me now for the first time. And we've got all this, you know, matching sets of baggage we're carrying with us, and we're trying to cast it off as we go. But I feel like, and this is going to make me sound really old, is like that generation, you know, the same as the people who came before us, that where it was illegal to be gay and they were persecuted and thrown in jails. We understand that, we can empathize with that, but that was not our lived experience, and we're grateful that they paved a way.
Yeah.
Those younger ones, you know, definitely can't understand what it's like to have to. People have known you for 50 years of your life as this version of Denise, and now I'm going to be this whole shiny new version. And it's like we have to educate everyone in our lives, whereas you just rock up to class tomorrow and say, "Hey guys, I'm now this," and everyone goes, "Yeah, cool, bro. Way you go."
I know. Yeah, right.
It's
That's
good,
right.
right? Like we're dragging like 2 bags, you know, like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, of shit with us, and they've got like a rucksack. You know, that's
Right.
it. They're carrying a
That
little
matches their
rucksack,
shoes.
right?
So,
Yeah,
Oh, this has been like such a cool chat, and I'm so grateful that you guys invited me for a start and made time to chat once we sorted out the time zone difference. But this has
Time zone math.
been like super, super big highlight for me, and I've loved meeting you guys and having this chat. It's been very cool for me.
Yeah, I love what you're doing. I love what you're putting out there, and I love what you're getting back, more importantly. And any time you need anything, like just reach out, through the socials
Thank you
and
so much.
whatnot. We're here for you, man. Hope this is a
I
long,
appreciate that.
successful journey for you.
yeah.
I'm so grateful to you guys, and it's been so amazing to hear your stories as well, and realize that we're all sort of moving in the same orbit, and it doesn't have to be, well, this is my thing. I'm not gonna, this is
Yeah,
our, like, I just want, literally hand on heart, is that if someone else hears your stories or my story and they just, for even that 30-minute episode, they just don't feel quite so alone, then I go, and even if I never know about it, I feel like then that's my purpose for getting up every day and breathing, that, my story has helped somebody else.
that's
Absolutely.
what we do it. I mean, we love highlighting, spotlighting people in our community that are doing something positive, something that's making an impact, and if it's a small business, if it's, a podcast, if it's, music, art, film, book, like we know how hard it is to get traction,
Yeah.
out there. So yeah, if we can take a little bit of time and shine a spotlight on those people, man, that's what we want to do. So, well done
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.
Yes.
And well done, you guys.
Wow.
Like, you've paved the way. It's amazing.
Well,
Right.
Denise.
I know. I blocked my hours, man. This is fun.
Yeah. But that's great,
Hey, ladies.
and I just think we need more voices.
Fantastic. Well, this has been so fun. We will let you carry on with
Amazing.
your day. I will carry on with my night. JD, little Target run, Starbucks, anything?
Yes, I'm doing actually a Target run. Boy, do you know me. You know me.
I do. Well, I will see you tomorrow. But listen, it's been an absolute joy. Much success, and we'll see you on the socials.
All right, see you there. Thank you, girls.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.
And we're gonna we've got Katie Marie, right? Your musician friend.
So excited. Yeah. She's got a lot going on. She's been touring a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
God bless
She's
him.
an amazing talent.
There she is.
Hello.
Hi there. Let's see how we got with.
Oh, look at my nails behind you, JD. You're so sweet.
You're on the blackboard.
Oh, thank you. I wish I could write and draw in such a beautiful fashion. I look like a 10-year-old child has been drawing and writing.
I have no idea the joy it brings her on podcast day to use her blackboard paint. Like, it's just incredible.
I sure do get my money's worth out of that blackboard.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I'm just gonna apologize for my cat, who is gonna end up sticking her face over my camera at some point.
Yeah, I never mind animals intervening in situations such as this. So yeah,
she's poised to make an appearance.
Oh well, good. I hope so.
Yeah. Week 2, she's been so annoying in the middle of the podcast.
Oh.
So where are you? Where are you? Are you at home or?
I am at home, yes. And long time no see. First of all, it's lovely to see you both.
Thank you again
what you two have been up to and stuff. And
well, you've been busy, huh? You've been touring and busy touring with a lot of famous people and course, you yourself is famous and
Oh,
amazing, an
yeah.
amazing talent.
Kind. You're very kind. Thank you. Um, yeah, I'm going to be honest with you both. I would say that the past year has been dominated by a lot of very significant changes in my personal life. And I'm probably going to be talking a lot about feelings, which I realize in most cultures is not an offensive thing. But you know, being somebody from the UK, it's like we struggle to acknowledge that we have feelings. We
Yeah,
never sort of openly talk about them, which
so
is why
true.
there's this warning that I feel as if I need to.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
man.
they're not touchy-feely people over here.
No, they're not. You're
Yeah.
quite right. Yeah, they're
Mhm.
not. But
Yep, they're very
yeah,
stoic, you know, and just keep calm and carry on mentality.
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what's prompted this change?
Oh, blooming good question there. Well, February last year, I started the process of getting divorced, which is my
No.
first time around of getting divorced, but second time around of an ending of a long-term relationship.
Oh.
And I had no idea just how much of an all-consuming affair it was going to be. I'm going to be honest. And
Oh.
oh,
I've learned a lot about myself in the process, and I'm grateful for it, but it's completely consumed everything I've been doing and has infiltrated every part of my life. And I only
oh,
really feel like now I'm sort of on the other side of it where I feel as if I'm somewhat back to normality, you know? Um, but yeah, it's been a real roller coaster, right? It's a whole thing. And if you
It
know
is.
oh,
about
It
yeah.
is.
it's a
Yeah.
whole thing.
Oh my gosh, I feel for you. I know I went through a heartbreak I just never knew existed that people feel that way. And I feel for you because I know what that's like. So, you know, share your feelings away.
Yeah.
We understand.
Get them out. Get them
Yeah,
better out than in.
I was telling everybody, like the person at the bank, as I was going through the draw, I was pouring my heart out to whoever would sit and listen to me. And in fact, I was renovating this place that I live in now. I was moving during that, and I was, picking out my cabinets, like the kitchen cabinets, and I'd be like, the person would be like, "Well, do you like this cabinet or this backsplash?" And I'm like, "I don't know what goes with a broken heart. Which
Oh my God.
go best?"
Oh,
And these are a bunch of guys that do not want to hear about that, So,
that's amazing.
uh,
I
please,
remember that. I
yeah,
remember that. I think I remember sitting with you in Steak and Shake for a couple hours.
my God, yeah,
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah,
And
not
Gemma
fun.
was like, "Why are you even worrying about this person?" Gemma didn't even know why.
My wife is so Australian. Like,
Oh,
you
I didn't
know,
know you had an Australian wife there.
yeah, like she, nothing affects them. They're just so blasé about everything. It's like they problem solve, and that's kind of like what it's about. So, like Gemma's answer was, why are you giving this more thought? Like, let it go. You're done. It's done.
Yeah,
Let it go.
mhm,
And I'm over there just like, well, she needs to get it all out. And
yeah,
just, it's tough, man. But, I
yes,
think you guys, especially both of you as musicians, um, you have a prominent outlet, for that. You can jam hard, you can write ballads, I mean, there's such it's such an expressive way to get your feelings out. Um, whereas the rest of us, like just sit at a bar.
that's
Slam some
true.
drinks,
That's true.
best way to get over someone is to get under someone else. It's like
Oh God, wow. Yeah,
all
that's
kinds of theories. There's all kinds of theories. I'm just saying, but you know yourself better than anyone, and what's going to work. So I just feel like as a people that have a creative streak in them, sometimes I think are fortunate because they have an outlet,
Yeah.
writers, musicians, poets, they just have a way of purging and then creating art in some way, shape, or
Yeah.
form. So from bad sometimes comes good, but it's a process. It's definitely a process. Was all this going on while you were on tour?
Yeah, I mean, it's been going on for over a year. And I just had to try and put on a big smiley face. And
Yeah.
I played a show with Paula, and I did share with her what was going on, and she was super sweet and kind. Um, and But for the most part, nobody knew. And that's why, as people are finding out, they're kind of shocked, because I mean,
Yeah.
Lauren and I were together for 10 years. We were a prominent couple in our Austin community. And to all intents and purposes, for people looking in from the outside, which is often the case, it's like, well, everything's fine, isn't it? Everything's fine.
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, it was fine. We'd gotten to a point where it was good, but for me, it wasn't like exceptional. And when I thought about looking forward at the rest of my life, I thought, do I want to just feel okay?
Yeah.
Or do I want to really feel like so happy every day? Because I feel like everybody deserves that.
Sure.
Yes.
And I just got to a point where I couldn't ignore the feelings that I was having about it. And staying in the same situation was just not an option for me. And so I felt as if I had to do something about it, which was very difficult for me.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
the first time that I've actually chosen to take action. In my previous relationship, that ended because my partner found somebody else. And so, I was rejected and pushed away. But in this instance, I was choosing to
Yeah.
end something, which is a
Yeah,
whole
that's tough.
different thing. It's like I could have chosen. It's okay. It's fine. It's safe. It's familiar.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I
And
hear you.
choosing the discord and choosing to sort of take a bunch of papers and throw them up in the air and hope they're going to land in a way that's going to make sense.
Yeah.
It's not something that I would necessarily normally choose, but I felt as if I had to.
It took a lot of courage to do that. Oh, and really such the right thing to do. But
I think people
stay
sometimes,
stuck.
yeah, we're not used to putting ourselves first, like our happiness first, you know? And I think a lot of us take for granted, like we think that our partners know what makes us happy. And sometimes they don't. Um,
Right.
but
Right.
we're also ultimately responsible for our own happiness. So that's, kind of saying, like, I'm choosing me, I'm choosing
Yeah.
me. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I think the hard part is getting that through understanding that yourself, that there's nothing wrong with that. Because you walk around saying, was this the right thing? Like, why did I blow up my life? But it's looking forward, I mean, like, you have to keep your eye on the prize, and the prize is what makes you happy, and now you're in full pursuit. So,
Yeah.
that's, you know, the other side of it is that, um, you get to pursue whatever it is that makes you happy.
Was it mutual? Can I ask that? I mean, I don't want to pry, but when it's not mutual, it's tough because I've been there too.
Yeah, that's so right. And Denise, thank you for sharing all of that. I really appreciate it. And you're so right. And yeah, it was actually not. We were, and I would say to a certain extent, are still not on the same page with that.
Yeah.
And that's been very hard because I am a very sensitive, empathic person. And I will say that it's in my nature to put the needs of other people before my own.
Yeah,
And that
condition. It's like a condition.
through it. Yeah, exactly what you were just saying, Denise.
Yeah.
There's that famous Jamie Curtis saying, I'm no longer a people pleaser, and people are not pleased.
Yeah.
And that's kind of
Yeah.
how I feel right now. But it's funny because all of the things I was fearful of, I was worried about, how are people going to react? What are they going to say? Are they going to be mean? Are they going to take sides and blah, blah, blah?
Oh
All
yeah,
these
that's always a
things I was
worry.
imagining in my mind that may or may not happen. Oh my God, to see the cat yawning over this camera. That's amazing. I love it. I really, really love it. They unfolded and I survived. I'm still in one
Yeah.
piece. Everything's
Yeah.
fine, and people thought whatever they were going to think and still do.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that all the people that I care the most about have been lovely and wonderful and kind.
Yeah.
And
Honestly, if they care about you, they should be supportive. If you take a step back and consider, would your would you, if it were you, would you want somebody staying if they weren't happy?
Yeah,
exactly,
that's a good point.
You
That's a good
know?
point.
yeah,
Yeah. So I just think it takes a long time for the dust to settle. And we always have this like notion as lesbians that we need to be besties with our exes. And we don't.
Yeah,
Absolutely do
I
not.
don't get that. I
Yeah.
can't. Yeah.
No, I always said like in some cases the relationship made us learn that we were better off as friends. Like
Yes.
there were,
Yeah.
the romantic side of it,
Mhm.
was the side that we discarded, and being, friends is what was left. Unfortunately, like sometimes we can't make somebody happy, you know,
Yeah.
with what it is that we want. Yeah.
yeah. And it's also being okay with that. And that's the biggest lesson for me, is being okay with someone being uncomfortable, and specifically with decisions that I've made that have impacted them in some way,
Oh yeah, you don't want to upset anybody. Like that's
Right,
just
exactly.
normal, like I can't stand when somebody's upset. Like I need to know why, and I need to fix it, and I need to feed you.
Right.
Like, it's just in that section. Why?
Right,
What can I do to help? Here, have something to eat. Boom, boom,
right,
boom.
right.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just
You
not.
know, I've heard, people say that because I felt in the relationship that I was the one that walked away, and like I could not get past seeing her crying in the she was living with me. So it's very hard when it's your place, and it was my place that she moved into. I was going to go move out of my own house because I felt bad about
JD.
her not having a place to go. And I just forget her crying in the doorway and saying, I don't want to leave. But I wasn't happy anymore. And we were fighting so much. And, but I was, then as I moved on, a friend of mine said to me, when people get into relationships, everyone, you got to understand someone's going to eventually possibly get hurt. And sometimes it's you, and sometimes it's the other person. But like Denise said, I totally agree with that. You can't be happy. You can't live with someone else to make them happy when you're unhappy and stay
Yeah,
with them for
yeah,
that reason, because
yeah.
then eventually you resent them, and it's you can't
Yeah,
like
the
I
longer it goes
really
on, the longer it goes on,
admire
the
you
worse
for
it's
that
gonna be.
courage.
Yeah,
Yeah, to do that. Like
yeah.
that.
When you
I know
recognize
the
it,
courage that took to do that. And
yeah.
you should really be proud of yourself for putting yourself first in that spot.
Are you
Because life
staying?
is
Are you
short.
staying in Texas?
Well, thank you, JD. I really appreciate that. And to answer your question, Denise, about whether I'm going to stay in Texas, I've actually moved recently.
Oh,
And there's been, it was funny because last year there were so many changes that happened, and the divorce, the starting of the divorce, separating, it was like the beginning of all the changes. And you know how you ask the universe for guidance, or God, or whoever you
Yeah, yeah.
you're expecting like a neon sign, a voice from above to sort of say, go this way, Cam, here's the route, or whatever. And I got none of that. Normally I get a feeling of like, this is the right thing to do, but in this instance it was like thing after thing after thing after thing just stopped. Like prominent people in my life left, places of work that I'd been for years and years and years, just suddenly ceased to be. And I was just like, I feel like I'm getting a very clear signal from the universe that I'm not meant to be here because everything is stopping, and I just felt everything became very mundane, isn't the right word for it, but I just didn't find much joy in what I was doing anymore. And being in Austin, Texas, I mean, the whole reason I moved there was to be with Lauren. I didn't move to Austin for me to sort of forge a career in music. I actually moved and came here to be with someone else, to be with Lauren, who is from Texas. And when that ceased to be, it felt a little bit like, why am I here? There's always been
question
in Austin. I'm from Devon, which is a very rural part of the UK. And
beautiful though.
It is beautiful, and I miss it. You're absolutely right, and I miss it so much. And there's just always been something that's been missing being in Texas. And it was funny because in June of last year, just completely randomly, I crossed paths with I don't know if you've come across this musician, Christy Lene, who is an amazing musician, award-winning fingerstyle guitarist. And she and I just crossed paths randomly in the moment where I was going through this major life change. And it was obvious there was something between us, that we were attracted to each other. And I was very upfront, and I said, this is not something I can pursue because I'm going through this whole thing. I don't know how long this is going to take.
Right.
I don't know how it's going to make me feel, and I don't want to drag someone through it, quite honestly. And she was like, okay, cool. And then we proceeded to message each other thousands of times every day for the next few months. And anyway, make a long story even longer, we started dating, and it's honestly been one of the best things that's ever happened to me. And at the moment, I was like, why would you bring this person into my life right now when I am probably the worst version of myself that I could possibly present to this person?
But you know what? The eye of the storm is the calmest place to be.
Oh, wow. Girl.
Yeah. That's some Florida hurricane talk for you.
Yeah, right.
Mysticism? Did you make that up? Or I've never heard that, but I think that's really,
Well, no, it's true. The eye of the storm is the calmest place to be. So,
but I mean,
when it passes over, it's destruction and flooding, and horrible. But in that moment, that could be possibly to bring some calmness in the storm.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I've never experienced anything quite like it. I mean, I'm in awe of her, both as a human being and as a musician. She's just the most extraordinary person I've ever met. And I've said to so many people, I never thought I would meet someone who loves music as much as I do. And when I've said that to people, they're like, bullshit, that cannot be a thing, because I mean, music's my thing, right? It's just, but she loves music more than I do. And just looks like she's about to explode sometimes with joy. And just she is the kindest, sweetest person I've ever met. And to be on stage with her is just a pure, it's I feel so grateful. And it was this immediate, I remember clearly the first time we sat and played music together, and it was immediate. And that does not happen. You guys know this, it doesn't happen. Sometimes it takes time to kind of figure stuff out, but I felt the same when I played with Sophie B and also with Paula. There's this comfort of like, and this with Christy is on another level of, I can't explain it. There is this connection that she and I have, and when we play music, it's magnified, and it's an amazing, wonderful, beautiful thing. But somebody actually tagged me in one of her videos on Facebook a couple of years ago, and I was like, oh wow, she's really cool, and I meant to message her then. And the reason that someone tagged me is because she played at the same venue that I did with Sophie B the night before.
Okay.
And, you know, Christy and I have talked about this. So there must have been so many times where we just did this over and over again. We know the same people and the same circles, and we must have been so close to actually meeting and crossing paths. And the fact that we haven't yet, up until this point, is nutty.
Yeah,
you know?
that's crazy.
Yeah, it was totally, you can see it was just this divine intervention of bringing us together. And I thought the timing was terrible, but actually in hindsight, the timing was perfect. And she's actually helped me heal and process a lot of this stuff that I don't think I would have done as well if she had not been there.
It's hard to do it on your own, you know, and it's when you have somebody that you connect with, you know, in such a way that understands it. It helps. It really does. You know, it really helps. And, you know, doing it on your own is brutal. You know what I mean? Like, it's just brutal. I mean, it's everybody, you know, you got friends that are supportive and letting you hang out and cry over cookies and, you know, whatever. But, you know, it's when you have that connection with someone and they get it and you can be yourself in it, you know, going through what you're going through, you can be yourself, you know, with that person, you know, instead of keeping a brave face or, you know, like holding back, you know, and maybe not sharing this or sharing that. But when you have someone that you feel good enough, you know, with to be able to, it's a good thing, you know, it's a good thing. So yeah, that's amazing. Do you feel this is, and you know, I'm not a musician. I'm not a musician, so I can't explain it in a way, but do you feel like your music or your creativity is like exploding in a different way because of that connection that you have with her?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, she's so inspiring to me. And she's somebody that, like me, gets really deep into the nitty-gritty, into all the little details of stuff and things that I'm the only person I've ever met that just nitpicks, you know, gets into the little details of stuff. And she does it even more than I do. And I'm like, oh my God, swoon. But what the reason why I was brought this up in the first place, Denise, is because I actually moved only recently, and I moved to Asheville with an A, North Carolina, which is where our Christy lives, and we are now living together. And the very exciting thing is that we are going to be setting up a recording situation right here in this beautiful house. And between both of us, we've got enough gear that we can have a pretty amazing situation.
Oh, that's fantastic.
You know, we're gonna be going on tour in Canada next week. Christy's got a whole bunch of tour dates in Canada, and we completely rearranged the lounge and pushed the furniture out the way and made like a rehearsal space in the lounge so that we could rehearse. And I'm just like, is this my life? Is this really happening right now?
Oh man,
with someone who's totally cool with this.
And plus the fact that you guys are creating together now, to be creating the music together and playing together on tour and traveling, and that's like, it seems to me like this was your destiny. Like when you say divine intervention, like it was your destiny to do this. And sometimes you don't see it when you're on the other side of it. Like before, you didn't know why that was happening.
I can't even remember the last time I was this happy.
Yeah.
And weirdly enough, I would get terrible anxiety and terrible panic attacks. I was happy. And, you know, my mind was like, wait a minute, we're not safe. Something terrible is about to happen. You know,
waiting for the other shoe to drop. Yeah.
Oh my God, I totally get that. I'm that way too. It's like you're waiting for the other shoe to fall. Like I cannot be happening unless something horrible's waiting on the other end of it.
Exactly. Yeah, you know, everything's going great, and I'm. What's going to happen? Why is everything going great? Something must be wrong.
See, I would say that's Italian guilt, but you're not Italian, so I mean,
it's sort of British cynicism, I would say.
Yeah.
Denise can vouch for that. You know, my people.
Yeah. That's
You
a
know,
very good, it's the way over here. For
is
sure.
it hard for you to post stuff on Facebook? I mean, on not just Facebook, but social media. Do you feel like, I'm posting the show, and now she's going to see it, and then she's going to feel bad? Like, I still feel that way, and I know I shouldn't, but like, and I'm not all that, anyway, I'm not in that situation you are right now, but do you feel weird about things going up on social media with shows and things? And like, do you try to feel like you need to like whitewash it, or are you just saying this is it? I'm happy, and this is my life now.
It's certainly not the latter. It's more the former, I would say.
Yeah.
But that's just because it sounds like we're two peas in a pod there, JD.
Yeah.
I can't help it. I overly consider people's feelings, and
Yes.
I've
Yeah.
actually been on a social media detox. I've only just started getting back into it, and for 8 months I was off social media. And the reason for that was my sanity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Me too. I get that.
Yeah, totally. And I also, it's what you see is what you get with me. There's not really any kind of facade. It's like this is just me, and the way that I post content onto social media is just an extension of who I am. And it was very hard for me to post in a way of the usual sort of cheery KM, because I am a very positive, glass half full type of person.
Yeah.
And it was just so hard for me to summon up the enthusiasm. It's like, no, my life's falling apart and I feel like shit and I'm actually struggling. That's what I want for everybody, but I know that's not what everybody wants to hear. I'm actually only just starting to get back into posting stuff. And it's actually a good exercise in that regard of like, I'm happy, and it's good that I'm happy. And, I want to embrace that. But yeah, it's a whole thing to process for sure. And that's a really great question.
Ladies, I am so happy to be able to spend this evening with you. It's been amazing. And
Yeah.
I'm
Katie.
so happy to see how things have turned around for you, and that you're so close now. That's just fantastic. Yeah.
And thank you for sharing your story with us today. I feel so honored that you shared this. Thank you for that.
Well, thank you for being so kind, and I've enjoyed talking about feelings and emotions, and we survived. So this has like been a healing process for little British me, But yeah, in all seriousness, thank you for being so kind. I've really enjoyed talking about the whole situation and hearing your experiences and your thoughts, and and it's lovely to see you both. Lovely. Thank you so much for having me.
Have fun in Canada. Live it up.
We blooming well will. Yeah, don't you worry.
Enjoy.
We will see you on your websites.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap for this week's Rainbow Remix Rewind. Thanks for listening.